Oh, is you ready? Because the facts are coming at you lickety-split. Here are 50 amazing facts to blow your mind. The moon is about 1/400th the size of our sun, but is also 1/400th the distance from Earth, which results in the moon and the sun being the same size in the sky, a coincidence not shared by any other known planet-moon combination. Billy West, who does the voice of Philip J. Fry on Futurama among other characters, intentionally made Fry's voice close to his natural voice. He did this as a job security measure because it would make it more difficult to replace him. When theatrical producer David Merrick got bad reviews for his 1961 musical, he found 7 random denizens of New York with names identical to those of top 7 theater critics at the time. He asked the civilians to talk ecstatically about the musical, then published an ad with their praises and names. The NFL once made a committee to falsify information to cover up brain damage in their players. If you publish a book in Norway, the government will buy 1,000 copies or even 1,500 if it's a children's book and distribute them to libraries throughout the country. Schwarzenegger faked interest in the movie Stop or My Mom Will Shoot to trick Stallone into starring in it. Stallone later called the movie maybe one of the worst films in the entire solar system, including alien productions we've never seen. In 1959, a white man from Texas disguised himself as a black man and traveled for 6 weeks on Greyhound buses. After publishing his experiences with racism, he was forced to move to Mexico for several years due to death threats. A woman who successfully underwent a lung transplant went into anaphylactic shock after eating peanut butter. Prior to her transplant, she never had any problems eating peanuts. She learned that the 12-year-old who donated the lungs had had a peanut allergy and had died from an anaphylactic shock. Comedian Ryan Stiles from Whose Line Is It Anyway has been a frequent fundraiser for children with burn injuries. He's raised over $500,000 for burned children recovery centers since 2009, helping the foundation to recover from the economic crash of 2008. Wayne Gretzky is the only hockey player to have ever scored over 200 points in a single season, and he did so a total of 4 times. His stunning success as a hockey player was immortalized in the fact that not only did his own team retire 99, which was Gretzky's jersey number, but the league as a whole did as well. When Brendan Shanahan was 14 years old, he asked star hockey player Rick Vaive for an autograph, but he was rudely brushed away. 4 years later, Shanahan was in the NHL and fought and beat up Vaive for the first time that they played against each other. While filming Spider-Man Homecoming from 2017, Michael Keaton would whisper "I'm Batman" to Tom Holland during fight scenes. Holland said, "We have a fight in the movie and I punch him. He turns around and says in a deep voice, 'I'm Batman,' and he kept doing Batman quotes on set." The drink 8 glasses of water a day thing is based on a 1945 recommendation that actually has no medical basis. The current recommendation is drink when you're thirsty unless you're outside on a hot day or are elderly, then drink a bit more. When Queen Elizabeth visited the set of Game of Thrones, she refused to sit on the Iron Throne because there's a law disallowing her from sitting on a foreign throne. Joseph Bazalgette, the man who designed London sewers in the 1860s, said, "Well, we're only going to do this once and there's always room for the unforeseen," and doubled the pipe diameter. If he had not done this, it would have overflowed in the 1960s and is still in use today. Kelly, a dolphin... Sorry, let me try it again. Kelly's a dolphin whose trainers gave her fish for bringing them litter and dead seagulls to clean her pool. She started hiding fish under a rock in her pool, then used the fish to lure gulls, which she brought to her trainers to get more fish. She taught her calf the same strategy, who taught more calves. Dolphin calves! Soon after Bill Gates had gone to start Microsoft, a Harvard professor who had worked with him recalled he had moved to Albuquerque to run a small company writing code for microprocessors, of all things. "I remember thinking, such a brilliant kid, what a waste." The first man to finish the 1904 Olympic marathon rode in a car half the race. The actual winner had to be carried across the finish line after his coaches gave him a mix of brandy and eggs. The 4th place winner stole 2 pieces peaches from a spectator, ate rotten apples from an orchard, and then took a nap. It seems the Olympics have changed a bit, yeah. In 2014, there was a 7,500 player battle in EVE Online, with thousands of ships being destroyed and an estimated $300,000 of real-world money being lost in the conflict. Only 48 people were rescued out of 212 cruise ship overboard incidents from 2009 to 2019. That's not very promising. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia has never won an Emmy in its entire run. It has never even been nominated in a major category, with 3 nominations for Outstanding Stunt Coordination being the only ones it's ever received. Oh, Ned wants in. Hold on. Give me a second. I have a kitty that wants attention. Want to say hi to everybody, Ned? Hello. My name's Ned. I'm baby Ned. These are the facts. Okay, I love you. The Eastern Front alone is enough to make World War II one of the, if not the single deadliest war of all time. Of the approximately 40 million deaths caused by World War II, about 40 million of them were caused on the Eastern Front. The smallest body of water that has a perceptible tide is Lake Superior. The Simpsons show within a show, The Itchy and Scratchy Show, isn't actually based on Tom and Jerry. It's based on a more obscure cartoon called Herman and Catnip, which was notorious for being violent and mean-spirited. Roughly 1 in 8 people, or 12.3% in the USA, live in New York City, Chicago, or LA urban areas. These urban areas account for only 0.2% of America's land. The expressions ignorance is bliss, the end justifies the means, and honor among thieves are all attributed to a Roman slave, Publius Syrus. Gargoyles on buildings were used to divert water on the roof away from the building by spraying the water through the mouth. It's related to the word gargle. In 2023, National Geographic magazine cut 17 editorial positions, including all of the publication's staff, writers, and editors who have been on staff for 40 years. The magazine still had more than 1.7 million subscribers at the end of 2022. Loyalty, am I right? Victor Lustig was a con artist who famously sold the Eiffel Tower twice in 1925 to scrap metal dealers. They were 2 of the most audacious scams in history. In 1982, 28-year-old Vladimir Smirnov ranked number 1 in the world for fencing, but was killed at the World Fencing Championships when a broken foil pierced his mask, entering his eye socket and penetrated his frontal lobe. The incident was actually the reason why fencing uniforms now include Kevlar as a standard. Hi, my boy. I know, I love you, Ned. I'm trying to film, buddy. Son. Okay, say hi to everybody, okay? Okay, I gotta get back to it. I love you. I'll snuggle you in a bit. Kitty glitter all over me now. Michael Jordan scored 38 points against the Utah Jazz in 1997, despite suffering vomiting and diarrhea from food poisoning. The flu game shoes he wore were later given to a ball boy from the Utah Jazz. In 1960, some 14,000 cats were dropped by parachute over Borneo to combat a rat plague, but it actually worked. Similar to UFOs, or more recently UAPs, the US Navy has a classification for unidentified submerged objects, or USOs. These are usually large unidentified marine animals and have caused more damage to naval vessels than UFOs have to planes. Modern birds come from 4 distinct lineages that survived the asteroid impact. These are ostriches and relatives, waterfowl, ground living fowl, and modern birds. Minecraft became the first video game to ever reach 300 million copies sold worldwide, and this equates to having sold 47 copies per minute every minute since the game's release in 2011. Since 1843, the US Treasury has held an account for donating directly to the government. Yeah, I'll get right on that. US zip codes as we know it only started in the 1960s. There's a family-run butcher shop in Takasago City in western Japan that sells Kobe beef croquettes, and they're so popular that there's a waiting list for them that is, wait for it, 30 years long. Marcus Licinius Crassus, often called the richest man in Rome in the time of Julius Caesar, created the first ever Roman fire brigade. However, the brigade wouldn't put out the fire until the owner would sell the property in question to him for a miserable price. Modern Africa is associated with large animals like elephants, lions, and rhinos, but large mammals had a global distribution until a mass extinction roughly 11,700 years ago, and Africa is simply the only continent that retained a large amount of them. The feels like temperature refers to an actual physical difference in how quickly your body loses heat, rather than just how the temperature is perceived psychologically. The Cabbage Patch Kids War of 1983 was a phenomenon where parents across the United States engaged in frenzied shopping battles to secure Cabbage Patch Kids dolls for Christmas. The demand for these dolls far exceeded the supply, leading to store stampedes, fights, and even injuries. The CPR doll is modeled after a real person. Her name was La Quenouille de la Seine, and she drowned in a river near Paris. She has come to be known as the world's most kissed face. The island of Ocracoke in North Carolina was the location where the pirate Blackbeard died on November of 1718. Shorts were once considered taboo in America. The city of Honesdale, PA, actually banned the wearing of shorts in 1938. They said, and I quote, "Honesdale is a modest town, not a bathing beach." Then, in May of 1959, Plattsburgh, New York, banned the wearing of shorts by anyone over 16. Violators received a $25 fine or 25 days in jail. Jan Palach was a student at Prague University in January of 1969 when he self-immolated in protest of the Warsaw Pact invasion of Czechoslovakia. 26 other self-immolations were made, and Jan became an icon of Czech freedom and eventually a national hero after the Velvet Revolution. Candle wicks have an asymmetrical braiding. When it burns, it curls on that side. Before that invention, you actually had to trim the wick every few hours as your candle would smoke. The IRS cannot cash single checks, including cashier's checks, for more than $100 million. This is not an IRS limit, but instead the Federal Reserve banks can't handle checks in the automated system with that many digits due to 10-digit limits in the automated check processing equipment and field designation. There is, however, a provision for one-off exceptions such as lottery winnings. NASA actually has their own SWAT team. Yes, you heard that right. Only about 20% of homes in the United Kingdom are completely detached with 0 walls, whereas about 85% of homes in the US are detached. That's 50 facts. Skibbity bop, babadoo bop, skibbity doo. Yeah. Bye now. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this, please share it and leave a like. Both help me out a lot. And of course, an extra special thank you to my channel members who get exclusive access to the bloopers from this video, which is one of the clickable links on screen right now. I'll see you guys next time. Much love.